Peace, everyone out there. This is Opie Mia. Welcome back to the channel. All right, y'all. So we're going to continue on with our free people of color slash indigenous Virginia tribe surnames. All right. So last video we did um, we did the Chickahominy and we also did the Monacan. All right. So this video we're going to get into the nonsamat. All right. So the surnames that I'm pulling, as you all know, there's always more than what's listed, but this is what's on the website for the non-Saman. So what we're going to do is, like we've been doing, is we're going to see the correlation or comparison from the surnames from these tribes over to the free people of color. All right, so let's go ahead and jump in. So we're not here all day. All right, so over here they have listed the surname Bass, Bateman, Bond, Brady, Bright, Cable, Collins, Cragans, Gaylord, Gray, Green, Harmon, Holloway, Howard, Jones, Oakey, Osborne, Porter, Price, Roland, Sawyer, Scott, Sebastian, Simcoe, Weaver, White, Wilkins, and Williams. All right, so let's go ahead and see what we find over here in our free people of color. So the first surname is going to be Bass. All right, so we've seen this in some of the other things we were looking up. So let's see if we can find Bass, and it's going to be right here. All right, next surname is going to be Bateman. All right, so I do see Bates, but I do not see Bateman. All right, next one is going to be Bond, B-O-N-D. All right, so let's see if we got a Bond on here, and we do. Bond is going to be right here. All right, our next surname that we are going to look for is going to be Brady. All right, so Brady, let's see if we can find a Brady. I see Brad B, but I don't see Brady. All right, so moving on. Our next one is going to be Bright. All right, let's see if we have a Bright, and we do. It's right here. All right, there's Bright. Our next one is going to be Cable. So let's see if we can find the Cable surname in here. And I do not see it, so we're going to move on. All right, next one's going to be Collins. And I believe this is another surname that we saw on some of the other ones. And Collins is going to be right here. All right, next we got Cragans. All right, so let's see if we can find a Cragans. I see a Crane, Craney, a Craig, but no Cragans. All right, next one is going to be Gaylord. Let's see. We have that one. No, I do not see Gaylord. Okay, next one's going to be Gray. Let's see if we have Gray, and I'm pretty sure we do have that one. So yeah, Gray is going to be right here. All right, next one's going to be Green. All right, I do not see Green. All right, then we're going to jump over to Harmon. H-A-R, Harmon, right here. All right, next one's going to be Holloway. So I don't think we have Holloway. No, I don't see it. All right, our next one is going to be Howard. All right, let's see, Howard. And I do believe, yes, Howard is right here. All right, next we got Jones. All right, Jones is going to be right here. All right, our next one is going to be Oakey. All right, let's see. Let's go all the way down here, and we do have it. So you could spell it with an A or an E in there. So Oakey, spelled either way. All right, our next one is going to be, looks like we got an Osborne. and I do not see that one. All right, next we got Porter, Porter. All right, so let's see if we got a Porter. We have a Porty, Portis. Could be, maybe, possibly. All right, next one is going to be Price. All right, so let's see if we have a Price on here, and we do right here. All right, next one is going to be Roland. All right, so let's see if we got a Roland. All right, Roland's going to be right here. Next one is going to be Sawyer. All right. So let's see, we do have Sawyer right here. All right, then we have Scott, all right, which is going to be right here. Then we have Sebastian, which I do not see. Then we have the surname Simcoe. So I see Simpson, Cisco, but I don't see any Simcoe. All right, then we have Weaver. All right, let's see, Weaver. All right, I do not see the surname Weaver. All right, next one is going to be White, which I know we definitely found that one, so that's going to be right there. Then we got Wilkins. Let's see, Wilkins is going to be right here. Then we have our last one, which is going to be Williams. And boom. All right, y'all, so that's going to be the nonsamat. Like I said, there's more surnames than just the ones I looked up, but I don't want to drag the video out. So we will come back again with our next one on these surnames for these Virginia tribes that are matching up with the free people of color. All right, y'all, I'm out of here. Y'all take it easy. Peace.
Django! You black son of a bitch!
Dear son.